Welcome, everybody. We got a great guest today from New York City talking about the challenges that transition age students have while facing career decisions, education, and entry into the workforce. Jon is an author of the upcoming book, See Us, which highlights the process, the journey of students entering internships, entering the workforce through the Career Discovery Project. Jon talks about how the Career Discovery Project enables students to enhance their opportunities to gain experience and educate them on the workplace through experience. This is all great information, whether you're a teacher of the blind and visually impaired, an employment specialist, a parent of a transition age student, or a transition age student. Opening the doors to possibilities. Be sure to keep in touch with Jon Marin, as his book, See Us, will be coming out in the next month or two. We hope you enjoy.
This is your interview, and you have to get your foot in the door. So knock out this interview, and the internship will be yours.
Tell us about a mock interview. Please welcome Jon Marin, Program Director at Career Discovery Project and author of the upcoming book, See Us.
By the time they graduate, they're marketable, their resumes are stacked, and most importantly, now they have an idea of what type of career they might want to do.
Working with transition age students through employment to enhance their opportunities in the workplace, education, and careers.
My publisher told me the great thing about this book is that there's not just blind people in New York City, they're all over the world. And a lot of people are going to want to see who these guys are, what they're doing, and how they're doing it. So these are really some exciting times. And I really hope that this book does have an impact on people and it touches them a little bit.
Now please welcome author and program director at Career Discovery Project, Jon Marin.
I'll tell you a little more about possibilities. This spring semester, as you know, especially in New York, the pandemic hit us hard. Everyone shut down. So obviously the students couldn't work on site. So what I had to do was readapt a little bit and get all of my students that were for this semester, I got them all remote work. I have 10 students right now, all working from home.
Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Jeff Thompson. Today in the studio, we have Jon Marin. Jon, I want to thank you for taking the time and coming on to Blind Abilities and sharing a little bit about the Career Discovery Project. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. This is a real pleasure.
I first started hearing word about you through the See Us project, and it got my attention. And there were 6 students that you took this journey with, and you captured it through a photo book type of format. And, it would really seem something. But the most important thing is you're working with students, high school students, as they approach transitioning into college and the workplace to gain experience in the workforce and to build their confidence. So I want to commend you for what you're doing for hundreds of students.
Yes, absolutely. I never thought I would be doing this. This wasn't my career goal, but this kind of fell in my lap, so to speak. I took the ball and I ran with it, and I really enjoy what I'm doing.
Well, you've won some good awards for this. You're part of the 40/40 club out there in New York, aren't you?
That is correct. I got the 40 Under 40 Rising Stars in the Nonprofit Sector Award. That was a big deal. I think once I got nominated for that award and I was an honoree, that's when I really got the idea that, this program is really, people are recognizing it. And I still don't know who the heck nominated me. So that's always going to be a mystery, but I'm glad somebody did. And I got honored and I really enjoyed it.
That's one of the trappings when you start building awareness about the possibilities that these students can do.
Absolutely. I used to job coach, and I always had good networks within agencies like Commission for the Blind and working with teachers for the visually impaired. So over the last 10 years that I've been working with the blind and visually impaired, I've gotten ingrained in the community really well. So I made a lot of networks, a lot of good connections. I use that to my advantage to advance the Career Discovery Project from what it was when I first took over.
You may have an assistant, but this is mostly one-on-one with the students, and you learn about the student, you meet them, you learn their strengths, and then there's over 30 partners out there that you go find a good fit for them. Tell us about that.
Right. So the program started in 2013, and it had about maybe even 2012, if I can remember correctly. I took over in 2014. So within those 2 years, they had about like 5 or 6 students a year participating in a program. It was that small. When I took over in 2014, I started doing about 8 to 10 students per semester. So that's the fall, spring, and summer, because this is a year-round internship program thanks to our grant. Since the program's year round and I have to constantly keep it running, I'm always at schools talking with students, talking with teachers. I'm getting calls from guidance counselors, bringing students to my attention. The students themselves, they share my contact information with their friends, and I'll get random calls or text messages saying, "Hello, Mr. Marin, I heard you can get me a job." I'm like, "Okay, who are you?" So that kind of is what's keeping me really involved with these students, because I'm so accessible to them as well. They're not calling an office. They need to talk. They're calling me directly. They're calling my phone. They're texting me. They're emailing me. They're not calling some secretary at some big organization. They have to wait to get in contact with me. No, they can call me, within the next hour. I'm always talking to them and keeping it going.
When you say you get them a job, basically you're getting them connected for an opportunity, but they earn their internship.
That is correct. So when I tell them I find a work site that's interested in them, or if I find a particular work site that they're interested in, and I get that site interested in wanting to meet the student, I let them know, look, I got you an interview with this place. Let's prep you. Let's get you ready. Because when you go in that interview, you have to ace it. You don't ace it, you're not going to get the internship. Not a total loss. We'll try again. We'll try somewhere else. But this is your interview, and you have to get your foot in the door. So knock out this interview and the internship will be yours.
Tell us about a mock interview. Some people may never have interviewed before in their life.
Yes, that is, especially unfortunately, that is very common with young adults that are blind or visually impaired, and they're in high school and they're of working age. So we go through the basics first: how to dress, the men, the boys, depending on the job, because obviously, not every interview requires a nice suit and tie. Things are a little different now, especially with some of the sites where I send my students off to. But I make sure they're dressing appropriately, the handshaking, keeping their head up, and at least looking in the direction where they hear the interviewer's voice, or if they have some vision, they should be looking at the interviewer straight on, listening carefully to the questions, keeping their answers short and simple. Sometimes I have to, let them know how they have to speak a little bit louder. Some of them have to speak a little bit lower. And since, I'm always with these students and I get to spend time with them at their schools, I'm very fortunate that the schools allow me to do that. I'll get some time with them alone in a classroom to prep them, or I'll do it over the phone at home. So they get some good time with me. That allows me to really give them all the preparations that they need.
Some listeners may not know what an internship is totally all about. This is like 10 hours a week for them. And like you said, it can run a full year.
That is correct. So the students can work no more than 10 hours per week. They're paid the minimum wage by the hour. They get paid bi-weekly, which is great. So if they have bank accounts, the money goes straight into the account, which is good for them. They start learning how it is to get paid and budget your money. It's year round, so we'll have a fall semester, a spring semester, and a summer semester. A student does not have to work every single semester. It depends if they want to do it, if they have other commitments, but the door is always open. So, Jeff, you could work the fall and spring semester, and maybe you take the summer off, and then you come back next fall because maybe you're going on vacation for the summer. So the door's open, they come in, and if I have a slot for them, I think I have like a 10 or 11 student rule during the fall and spring semester. If I have space and I can find them a site, I'll try to get them an interview.
What an opportunity to gain the experience to start building on their resume, which they'll need in the future.
Yeah, you should see some of these resumes that I have. I'm actually a little bit jealous, especially with some of my college students. I'm like, man, your resumes are already more impressive than mine, and it's all because of the work sites that they've had under me. By the time they get to college, they probably had 2, 3, maybe even 4 internships, right? So once they enter college, they probably have more experience than most of their freshman classmates. Mm-hmm. And that's not unrealistic to say. So at least they get in there with a nice advantage.
Oh, yeah. I've always said that experience, I don't know where this came from, but is one of the best teachers. Mm-hmm. Experience is one of the best teachers. And to have that already, especially in your first, second year of college, when you're starting to point your compass at your goal that you want to do, that's really great that they get to carry that with them, have that experience so they can self-determine their own goals.
Right. And then by the time they graduate, they're marketable, their resumes are stacked, and most importantly, now they have an idea of what type of career they might want to do. If you remember what I said earlier, I try to match them up with an internship that matches their interest or career goals, or if they're already in college, one that matches their college major. But sometimes especially the younger students, they're not sure what they want to do yet. So I question them a little bit. What do you like to do? What are your hobbies? Things like that. And from there, I try to find, simple work sites where they might find them interesting. And I had them at least try it out for a semester. And if they like working there, good. Now we're getting somewhere. If they don't like it, it's fine. Now I know for next time and the next semester, we could try something else. We'll try something different.
Obviously, you have a passion to see the students succeed. What's it like when you find someone that has drive and all of a sudden they take off with it? You find them that spot and they go with it and they graduate and you're like, wow, they did it.
It's like a song in my heart. It's just a great feeling. I had one girl who got accepted to NYU and she texted me and she said, it's because of working in your program. I got this far. And that just meant the world to me.
Oh.
I had two other students. They kind of disappeared after my program because they ended up finding work on their own. Like they didn't need me anymore, you know what? And how I was totally okay with that. That means I did what I had to do. So, and it was funny because one of them, I ended up bumping into her on the 7 train. I was actually visiting another student at a school and it was the afternoon. I'm on my way home and she's on the platform. And she's like, yeah, I'm working here. I'm doing this. I'm like, oh, that's great. Because when she was in high school, I had her interning at the Intrepid. Then she ended up interning at the Brooklyn Children's Museum. So, she did what I love for them to do. It's eventually just go out on their own, say they don't need me anymore and do their own interviews.
Make John useless.
Exactly. Push me to the side and move on.
You can teach students the tools to use, but when they pick up the tools themselves, then they're teaching themselves. That shows that you're a good teacher, John.
I'll tell you a funny story. I had two students. Both were named Michael. They still are. Both are named Michael. And a couple of years ago, they were interning at a very exciting place called Rocking the Boat. It's in the South Bronx, and it's a boat building program. They actually make boats that are able to, sail along the Bronx River. So these are like real boats, right? So they were pretty much, they were close to being totally blind. They really didn't have much vision, but they were still over there working with power tools. They had a job coach, they were building these boats. But what happened was after a couple of weeks, since they really loved what they were doing, and, as you know, when you love something that you're doing, you're going to make more of an effort. So They're doing a great job. They're very happy over there. And I ended up getting a phone call from one of the staff members at Rocking the Boat. She's like, the Michaels are doing so good, but they're not allowing us to help them. They don't want our help. I'm like, oh, well, can you tell me a little bit more? And she's like, yeah, no, we're trying to help them with the tools and so on, but they don't want to help and they just want to work alone. And she admitted that they're doing really well working alone, but they were still nervous because, they don't have much vision and they're messing with these power tools, but they were blowing everyone away because they were doing such a great job. And end of the story, they ended up getting hired as apprentices.
Wow. Good for them.
And they're in college now. I think they should be graduating soon. So, yeah, good for them.
So you're saying everyone should change their name to Michael?
That might work. I might change mine.
This is just one of the stories that you have 100 stories like this, but there's 6 students that you put together in a photo type format book called See Us, and that's SEEUS.
That's correct. So these students, I didn't do some like American Idol search or anything like that. These 6 students, they were already in my program. And the whole point for my book was to document these students, not just them at work, but how they're balancing their lives between, work, home, and school. People forget, they didn't realize, they're going to work, but, then they're getting home 6, 7, 8 o'clock. Now they have to do homework and then go to sleep and get ready for the next day and so on. So, for regular people, that's, that could be a lot. So imagine these kids, they already have things, unfortunately a little bit more difficult for them because of their vision, but look how they're handling it. They're tough. They're toughing it out. They're fighting. They're very goal oriented. They don't quit. I wanted to share that with everybody because I could talk about my program all day and people could say, oh, it's so great. It's so great. And it's not just a program. I want to show them the students that are in the program. It's great because of the students that I'm working with. They're great and they're making the program great. If these students weren't making the effort to accomplish their goals, then the program fails. So it's not just a program, it's the students that are in the program and how they're doing it. So I really wanted to show that off. And I thought that the best way to do this would be a photography book. Take pictures of them, show them at work, at home, or at school, and have their personal thoughts accompany the photographs. So we also get an idea of what they were thinking, how they feel about this and that. That way, the reader really gets a good idea of who they are. So they're not just looking at pictures, they're actually getting into these students' minds as well. And for a lot of people, this could be a whole new world for them. And I'll tell you why. I have a friend. And it was about a year ago. She said, "Hey, John, I know you work with high school students that can't see." No, these are her words. And she goes, "I saw one on the train, on the subway, and he was with a cane. I didn't know they could take the subway." And I'm like, you see, this is why I'm doing my book, because of exactly what you just told me. You don't know that these guys could do pretty much anything anybody else could do. People have to see that. I want to change this stigma or enlighten people a little bit more about these students and what they're doing and how they're doing it and that they can do it.
Not only for the book readers, but for the companies, the partners that you work with, because those students are there 10 hours a week for up to a year, or they come back, and their impact on the company and the people they see every day going to work as a routine thing, the bus driver, the people on the bus, people on the subway, that whole journey, it's not just the people at work, it's going to and fro, the family, everything. Your program there that they're going through is actually impacting so many people, more than you can really put a number to.
Right. And sometimes I have to calm down some of the parents. I have to put them at ease because, and I could say it's from experience because I've been doing this a very long time. A lot of their parents like to shelter their children and they like to keep them home. And these children, most of them don't want to stay home. They want to go out. They want to hang out on the weekends. They want to actually go to work after school and feel like an adult. So sometimes I have to, put the parents at ease and say, look, she's going to work here. This is how she's going to get to work after school. I'm teaching her the route. You have my number. You have all my information. I make sure I'm very accessible to the parent. I make sure the parent knows that their child knows how to get to work. And I tell them, look, if you can let her go to school by herself, you can let her go to work by herself, especially if the work site is not that much further away from the school. Once I put them at ease, the parents end up loving it. And they're like, wow, my child's working. He or she's making money. I didn't know they could do this. But that's some parents. Other parents, they're begging me to get their kid out the house and to get them to work. So I kind of deal with both of them. As far as the work sites go, just in case if anyone is misunderstanding, they can work at a number of different sites. So they don't have to stay with the same place every semester. Sometimes they do when everything's going well. And if the supervisor likes them and the student likes where they're working and they want to do another semester or two, leave well enough alone. Sometimes the student wants to go work and try something else, which I like as well because you see more of a variety on their resume. But I make sure that after they leave each work site, the first thing they have to do is update that resume.
I think the biggest thing you're doing, not just for the individuals here that are getting this opportunity to build their confidence and use the skills that they do have, it's the awareness you're bringing around New York, from the parents to the companies, and instilling that confidence in, they call back and said, if it wasn't for you. But, those students have drive too, and you're just helping them to steer that wheel a little bit and let them. I'm trying not to take it away from you or give it to them, but you're part of the catalyst that is actually making it all work. And I think it's a great thing what you're doing. And when I started reading this and they're capturing that story so other people can share it and read it, that's what we need out there more, because there's a lot of states out there, a lot of people out there that they reach that point where the parents, throw their hands up in the air too, because not everyone gets the services that they need, or they're not even aware that there's possibilities. So you're bringing possibilities into so many hearts and minds out there. So great job, John.
I appreciate it.
John, this year, 2020, has really changed everything. Tell me how it's going now.
I'll tell you a little more about possibilities. This spring semester, as you know, especially New York, the pandemic hit us hard. Everyone shut down. So my spring semester was totally wiped out. I didn't get any students to work. So obviously the students couldn't work on site. So what I had to do was readapt a little bit and get all of my students that were for this semester. I got them all remote work. I have 10 students right now, all working from home without having to go on site. They're working from home. They're doing a great job, very interesting project and assignments that are going to look really good on their resume. They are getting a crash course in remote work. Most of them never did this before, although some of my students, mainly those that are not sighted, they were usually working from home anyways. And my sighted students would usually work on site. And it all depends on the site and the assignments and what they want. But that's usually how it ended up working out. But now, at least for this summer, up until I got about 2 weeks left for the semester, I have 10 students right now, all working from home. I was glad I was able to salvage this semester. I have a really great group this year, and they're doing some incredible work right now. And it's a big deal because the New York Summer Youth Employment Program was completely canceled. So you got a bunch of teenagers out there that are not working right now. And I'm just glad that at least, it's just 10, but 10's better than 0. And I was always ahead of the game with this because I was always doing remote work from the beginning. So, the summer was coming around and the other agencies had to scramble to try to find some work programs for the students. They couldn't. So right now in New York, I'm the only one with a functional program right now that actually has these students working. And I'm very proud of that, mainly for them, because if I wasn't there, then they really wouldn't be doing anything this summer. It would have been a total waste. So I'm really glad that did not happen.
And they're picking up skills that a lot of people across the United States and the world are doing the same thing. Like, who thought Zoom would be that important?
Yes.
Who thought that being able to connect up with people and conduct business from home would be so important? And it's typically someone that's visually impaired is used to being at home, is used to being on the internet. So when this came along, you said, I got this.
Yeah. And here's a fun fact. I work from home. I've been working from home for 6 years. So I know a lot of your viewers are probably not from New York. So the way it works, New York City has 5 boroughs. And of course, my office is in the most southern borough, the furthest away from my borough. So basically, it takes me about 2.5 hours to travel to my office when I do have to visit. Right. And it's a subway ride, then a ferry. And that ferry is a half-hour ride itself. And then once I get to the borough of Staten Island, then I have to take a bus. Okay, so that's about like 2 hours, 40 minutes if there's no delays on public transit. So anyway, my
Wow.
supervisor was like, just work from home. It only makes more sense that way. I have to be mobile. I have to visit schools in the other 4 boroughs anyway. I always have to go visit a job site at weird times. It could be 4, it could be 6 o'clock, depending what time they want me to go down there for a meeting. Or sometimes I like to pop up on my students, make sure they're there, make sure they're working. So it almost wouldn't make any sense at all to work from the office. None. So I've been working from home, and I was able to give my students a little, some insight tips on how to handle certain things. And yeah, they got their crash course. They like it. I think that my main concern was just making sure they had the proper technology to even do the work. So I found they had their laptops or iPads and computers. If they had that and they're connected to the internet, then they should be fine. If their respected work site needs to give them any particular programs, then they would have just gave it to them. So as long as they had the technology to do it and they could manage their time working from home, then yeah, we were fine. There was no issues.
How does a potential student find out about Career Discovery Project?
Word spreads many ways. So either a teacher of the visually impaired, usually they know about my program, most of them do, and they'll tell me that they have a student that I should talk to. Maybe a student might want to work this semester and so on, and then they'll introduce me to the student. Sometimes the students tell each other. For example, the ones that are currently working in my program, their friends know that they're working with me. So, eventually I'm going to get random phone calls and text messages from their friends asking me if I can find them work as well. And from there, then we go through the proper channels when I speak with their counselors and so on. And sometimes the students they'll tell the counselor, I would like to work this year. Who can I work with? And then most of the time the counselor, well, depending on the student, they do have to be college bound, by the way. I don't get them easy work. No way. So if they're college bound and the counselors feel they're appropriate for my program, they will direct them to me.
Career Discovery Project. That's a good name.
I wish I thought of it, but I didn't. Like I said, I inherited it in 2014. In 2013, I was the assistant manager. And then when the manager at that time had left, I just slid right in. My boss, she figured, look, there's no point hiring somebody new. You was already assistant manager. You know more about this than I do. to just keep it going. And that's what I did. Needless to say, I was scared to death when I first took over the program. And I mentioned that in my book briefly. I was petrified. I never had such a job with such a huge responsibility. I thought I was going to ruin it instantly, which didn't make any sense because when I was assistant manager, I'm like, oh my God, if I was running this program, I would do this, that, and the other thing. Then once I got in that position, I was like, oh, me and my big mouth. But look, man, what, 6-7 years later, probably 90 to 100 students. I have over 30 partner sites that cycle. I'm always getting new sites every semester. Most of the sites that I'm working with this summer are all brand new. The program keeps growing, and I just wish I could just replicate this in urban cities nationwide. I would love to do something like that.
So many students, so many people who have visual impairment, it seems like a brick wall. Barricades are up in trying to get a job and employment. How do you sell the potential of having a student do an internship when you're going to a new partner?
So once I find a student that could be good for the site, I make sure I get their resume. Even if the resume is a little bit raw, I try to sell the site on just give them the work experience. We'll pay them. And I know it sounds very simple, but that's usually what puts them at ease because a lot of these companies feel they can't afford interns and extra help. Once I tell them, look, first of all, I'm going to pay them. You just give them a work experience, find somewhere where they fit. They do like doing this and that. Just interview them, meet them. No pressure. You don't like the student. You don't think it's going to work out. That's fine. No hard feelings. Just give them a chance. Give them an interview. Let's see how it turns out. Quite honestly, it works out pretty easily most of the time. I start off by sending emails. I describe the program briefly. And if I don't get a response within like 2 weeks or so, then I know the company's not interested. Usually I get the whole, wow, this sounds great. Who can we meet? And then, from there, we take it to the phone and then we move forward. These employers, they just love, especially the employers that are in their, late 20s and early 30s, they just love working with these young students. And they're usually the ones that are more open to providing them an internship. I let them know, look, the schedules are flexible. You guys could create any schedule you want. We'll pay them. All you're going to do is benefit from the extra help. They just love it. And it's been working well ever since.
So you've noticed a change over the last you've been there 10 years. Have you noticed a change over the last 10 years that companies are more willing to diversify or be more inclusive?
I have. I definitely have. Probably I don't want to speak for any supervisors in particular because I don't know how they think, but it's starting to get out there that companies have to be more inclusive and they need to give more people a chance. So let's just say they already have that feeling and they haven't had the opportunity yet. Here I come to give them that chance to be more inclusive. And they take it, they run with it. Most of the time, I have very happy employers. I always love when they say, can the student work another semester? I'm like, yes, dude, that means everything is going really well. Yeah, they have opened up a lot more. I know when I first started, it was more difficult for me to find placements. But now it's like I just keep getting can I meet somebody? Can I meet someone? Yeah, who do you have? And I'm like, oh, great. There you go. I just try to send them the best match possible.
That's really great. Jon, you've really adapted to the changes, low expectations that society has upon people with visual impairments or disabilities across the board. But you've been fighting that, and it's showing that you're getting more receptive. You're getting awards for what you're doing. You've come out with a book, and you've adjusted to the COVID-19 stage here, and you're still successful. And young adults are growing, and the program's still working. The Career Discovery Project is working. Good for you, Jon.
Thank you so much. This is, what can I say? I didn't expect to ever be in this position, but I got it. I ran with it. I see the positive effect that's happening, and I keep trying to keep that fire going. As long as there's, hungry students out there and there's employers that want to be inclusive, we can make some really fun and exciting things happen.
What suggestions would you have for some TVIs, some TBVIs out there? Teachers, counselors, what suggestions would you have about the optimism that you seem to have about the potential of the students you've encountered?
I can tell them, make sure if they know a particular student that has a particular talent, that student sticks to that talent, that they don't get sidetracked or frustrated, feeling that, because I'm blind, I'm never going to get this type of job. Encourage them, if they're not in New York, to find a program that could find them some sort of work that they can do that interests them, where they could utilize their skills. So definitely talk to them, get inside their mind, see where they are and where it is that they want to go.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you have for a student who is indecisive or not, maybe hasn't met role models or people who, like you said, some parents don't even encourage them or don't even know that they have the potential to succeed in college? What advice would you have for those?
Explore, explore, explore. If you don't know what you want to do now, you'll figure it out. Explore, try different things, see what it is that you like. Maybe you might find a secret talent. You might find something that you're good at. And then go for it. Keep trying to go for it. Baby steps first. You crawl, you walk, then you run. If your parents are a little hesitant to let you go out there and work, you have to show them that you are independent and that you can be independent. You have to show them. And if you need a little extra help, try to get one of your teachers to talk to them. Try to get a guidance counselor. That way you have a little backup. Then maybe your parents will let up a little and let you spread your wings.
We used to call that parents used to bring their students to the school, and it seems like they cut the umbilical cord right there. And they could read 300 words of Braille per minute. They could read their talking devices. Everything was super fast. Everything was, but they just didn't have soft skills. They didn't have the skills to butter bread, basically. But they were so technically inclined, advanced. They were taking in all the data to actually get your hands-on work, like you're letting them do, giving them those opportunities. That's where it all comes together.
Yeah, especially with the soft skills. I had one student, and I love him to death, and now he's almost a grown man. He's also about to graduate college. Well, I had him when he was really young and really raw. I got him an internship somewhere. He needed help with his social skills, and he was always asking a lot of questions. He would just barge into his supervisor's office at random times just to talk and ask questions. So yeah, you're definitely on target with that. They could have the work skills, but then they don't have the social skills. So, unfortunately, I can't teach all of that. I do need help. I do rely on some of the other agencies to already give me students that had some pre-vocational training. I kind of do the sharpening a little bit, but he learned. And as he got older, he got a lot more mature. He got a lot better. And now he's a completely different person than what he was when he first started. These work experiences are just that, work experiences. And actually it's also a life experience. So they're learning how to be on their own and engage with employers and customers and visitors, especially the supervisors. A lot of the participants in the program, they work directly under the supervisor. So they're being watched and they're learning. It's on the job learning for hard skills and soft skills.
Where can the listeners find out more about the Career Discovery Project?
They can go to cityaccessny.org. They can click on programs. They can click on the Career Discovery Project there. If it's okay, they can follow me on social media. I do like to give updates on what's happening with my program as well with the book because they're kind of intertwined. So on Twitter, they can follow me at author, AUTHOR _Marin, MARIN. They can follow me on Instagram at the author Jon Marin, JON. And they can also find me on LinkedIn as Jonathan Marin and on Facebook as Jon Marin. And you'll see me posting updates on my program, the excellent and exciting things that the students are working on and what they're accomplishing on my social media.
And how can someone see us, the book?
The book, same way. They could follow my social media. So I use my social media for updates both on the book and on the internship program.
There you go. Well, John, a lot of information, a lot of good stuff, a lot of positive stuff, and, all in an effort to enhance the opportunities that you're creating, making available to students for them to see a brighter future for themselves. So thank you so much for what you're doing for the students out there in New York. And with your book, you're going to probably have a big impact and bring more awareness to a lot of people across the world.
That's what I'm hoping. My publisher told me, and I should have told her. She said, the great thing about this book is that there's not just blind people in New York City. They're all over the world. And a lot of people are going to want to see who these guys are, what they're doing, and how they're doing it. So Yeah. This is these are really some exciting times, and I really hope that this book does have an impact on people and it touches them a little bit.
What's your plans for the rest of this summer?
We're going to finish the program in about 2 weeks. Then the unfun part of reporting takes place after that. The kids will take a break. Some of them are going off to college. I'll be working on the book as well. I'm going to start filming the trailer in a couple of weeks. That's going to be exciting. Yes, a trailer for the book. I'm going full speed ahead with this. And then in September, I'll start preparing for the fall semester. And hopefully by October, I'll have another 10 students, most likely working remotely, depending on how open the city is and who's allowing employees back to work on site. So yeah, we're going to finish up the program. I'm going to, do a little bit more on the book, hopefully get the book out by the end of the summer, early fall. And at the same time, keep the program going.
Mm-hmm. When you mentioned another 10 students, I've heard people say, I wish someone could just write a manual on how to teach BVI, but every student is so uniquely different. I'm glad that, like you said, you got a lot of one-on-one going on here, and that helps the students so much.
I did say another 10. I'm pretty sure about 3 or 4 that I have now will probably just continue in the fall semester. So, maybe I'll have probably 4 or 5 slots empty for some new students. I do try to, recycle a little bit, give as many a chance as possible.
Good for you. Thank you, Jon. We've been talking to Jon Marin, Program Director of Career Discovery Project and author of See Us. Jon, thank you so much for coming on. It's a wonderful thing you're doing. I can't say enough for it because I've been involved with transitioning students before, and it's a good thing that there's programs for them to go to so they can take that step up, realize that it's possible, and through the experience of the other students that have gone through your program, they too see that they can do it too. So thank you, Jon, for what you're doing.
Really appreciate the opportunity to get the work out. Thank you very much.
Great time talking to Jon Marin. Such great things that he's doing out there in New York City. And if you're not in New York City, be sure to check out your vocational rehab, your state services for the blind, and see what they can do for you. Live, work, read, succeed. Big shout out to Chi Chow for his beautiful music. Thank you, Chi Chow, Chi Chow, Chi Chow. And if you have any questions or suggestions for the podcast, be sure to reach us at 612-367-6093. Leave us a message and let us know if we can use it on the podcast. We'd love to have your voice heard. And from all of us here at Blind Abilities, through these challenging times, to you, your family, and friends, stay well, stay informed, and stay strong. Thanks for listening, and until next time, bye-bye.
When we share
what we see through
each other's eyes,
we can then begin to bridge the gap
between the limited expectations and the realities of blind abilities.
The realities of blind abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities. Download our app from the App Store, blindabilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.